The human quarters on the council station were comfortable but felt like a cage. The walls were smooth metal that changed color based on the time of day outside. There were no windows, and the door only opened when the aliens wanted it to open. Diplomat. Jawook spread the integration accords across the large table in their main room. The document was over 200 pages long when printed on human paper. Each page was filled with legal language that twisted and turned like a snake. "This is not what they made it sound like," he said to legal expert Mi Young, who sat across from him reading through Section 15 for the third time. Mi Young looked up from the papers, her face pale. "It gets worse the deeper you read. Look, at this part about military service." She pointed to a paragraph buried in the middle of the document. The language was complex, but the meaning was clear. Every human between the ages of 18 and 40 would serve 10 years in Council military forces. They would be sent wherever the Council needed them, for whatever purpose the Council decided. 10 years, Jawook repeated. And look at the next part. They can extend service time for special needs or emergency situations. Which means forever if they want, Mi Young said. And here, in Section 23, all human military technology becomes Council property immediately upon signing. All human weapons, all human ships, all human defense systems. Dr. Subin entered the room carrying a cup of the alien tea they had been given. She had been trying to analyze it in their small, portable lab. The tea is safe to drink, but they added something to it. A mild sedative. Nothing dangerous, but it makes people more relaxed and agreeable. "They are drugging us?" Jawook asked, putting down his own cup quickly. "Probably standard procedure," Subin replied. "Keep the new species calm while they sign their freedom away." Ambassador Hyejin came out of her private room where she had been talking to Earth through their secure quantum communicator. Her expression was grim. "I have been speaking with President Yoon Seo and the Earth Council," she said. "They want a full report on everything we have learned here." "The report will not be good," Mi Young said. She held up another section of the accords. "According to this, Earth's government will be dissolved. All human laws will be replaced by Council laws. All human leaders will be replaced by Council appointees." "What about human rights?" Subin asked. Jawook laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Rights. According to Section 47, humans will have the same rights as any other council. Species, which means whatever rights the council decides to give us." Meanwhile, in another part of the station, military strategist Tae-ho was doing his own kind of research. He had been given permission to walk around the station with an alien guard to keep him safe. The guard, a short creature with green skin and too many eyes, seemed bored by his job. Tae-ho pretended to be amazed by everything he saw, asking innocent questions about how things worked. The guard answered proudly, happy to show off council technology to a primitive human. But Tae-ho was not really interested in the technology. He was watching the guards, counting their weapons, noting their patrol patterns. He was looking for weaknesses. The council had made a big mistake. They thought humans were simple and stupid. They did not bother to hide their security measures. They showed Tae-ho exactly how many soldiers they had, where their weapons were stored, and how their defense systems worked. "Your military must be very strong," Tae-ho said to his guard as they walked past a weapons storage room. "The strongest in the galaxy," the guard replied with pride. "We have never lost a battle. No species has ever refused to join the council after seeing our power." "Never?" Tae-ho asked, sounding impressed. "Never. Sometimes species try to negotiate, but they always give up in the end. What choice do they have? We control all the trade routes. We have the best weapons. We have the largest fleets. Any species that refuses us becomes our enemy, and our enemies do not last long." Tae-ho nodded as if he understood, but inside, he was making plans. Back on Earth, Admiral Boram sat in her office reading the secret reports coming from the delegation. Each report made her more angry and more determined. She activated her secure communicator and called Fleet Admiral Kyung-ho. "The Council thinks we are weak," she said when his face appeared on her screen. "They think our technology is primitive. They think we will be grateful for their protection." "What are your orders?" Kyung-ho asked. "Begin Operation Silent Thunder immediately. But carefully. We cannot let them know what we are really capable of." "Understood, Admiral. How many ships?" "All of them." Kyung-ho's eyes widened. "All of them? That is over 200 vessels." "Yes. But keep them hidden. Use the new cloaking technology. I want our entire fleet in position around their station, and I want them to have no idea we are there." On the Council station, the human delegation continued studying the integration accords. Each page revealed new problems, new ways the Council would control every aspect of human life. "Look at the resource allocation section," Mi-young said, pointing to page 112. "Earth will provide 70% of all mined materials to the Council, 70% of all food production, 70% of all manufactured goods." "That would leave barely enough for humans to survive," Jae-wook said. "I think that is the point," Hye-jin replied. "A hungry population is an obedient population." Dr. Subin had been quiet for a while, reading through the sections about scientific research. "This is the worst part," she said finally. "All human scientists will work on Council projects. All human research will belong to the Council. Any human who tries to develop new technology without permission will be punished." "Punished how?" Hye-jin asked. Subin pointed to a small paragraph. Near the bottom of the page. "Exile to the deep mining colonies. For life." The room fell silent. Outside their quarters, they could hear alien voices in the corridors, speaking in languages their computers could not translate. The sounds were harsh and commanding, like orders being given. "There is something else," Jae-wook said quietly. "The timeline section. Once we sign this document, the Council takes control of Earth immediately. All human military forces must stand down within 24 hours. All human leaders must report to Council representatives within 48 hours. "And if we refuse to sign?" Mi-young asked. Jae-wook turned to the final page of the document. "Then humanity is declared a hostile species. The Council will use all necessary force to bring us into compliance." "War," Tae-ho said, entering the room after completing his tour of the station. "They mean war." "What did you learn?" Hye-jin asked. Tae-ho sat down and pulled out a small device that looked like a music player. "I recorded everything. Their guard positions, their weapon locations, their patrol schedules. They have about 5,000 soldiers on this station." "That sounds like a lot," Subin said. Tae-ho smiled for the first time since arriving at the station. It would be, if they were human soldiers. But I watched them train. They move slowly. They think slowly. They have become comfortable after 10,000 years of easy victories. "What about their technology?" Jae-wook asked. "Impressive but old. They stopped innovating centuries ago. Why develop new weapons when the old ones always work? Why improve their defenses when no one ever attacks them?" Ambassador Hye-jin stood up and walked to the wall that served as a window. With a touch, it became transparent, showing the vast emptiness of space beyond the station. "They made a mistake," she said softly. "They assumed we would be like all the other species they have conquered, grateful for scraps, happy to trade, freedom for safety." "What do we do?" Mi-young asked. Hye-jin turned back to face the others. "We give them our answer, but first, I need to send one more message to Earth." She activated their communicator and waited for the connection to Admiral Boram. When the Admiral's face appeared, Hye-jin spoke just 2 words. "We refuse." Boram nodded. "Understood. Are you ready for what comes next?" "We have been ready our whole lives," Hye-jin replied. "We just did not know it until now." The next morning, Overlord Veltar came to their quarters with a group of guards. He seemed confident and pleased, expecting to receive humanity's grateful Acceptance of the Council's generous offer. Have you finished reading? He asked. Are you ready to sign and begin your new life as a Council species? Ambassador Hyejin stood straight and looked directly into his alien eyes. We have read every word. We understand exactly what you are offering us. Excellent, Veltar said. I knew humans would be reasonable. Where would you like to hold the signing ceremony? Hyejin smiled, but it was not a happy smile. There will be no signing ceremony. There will be no acceptance. We refuse your offer. For the first time since meeting the humans, Veltar looked genuinely surprised. Overlord Veltar stared at Ambassador Hyejin as if she had spoken in an ancient, dead language. His four arms moved restlessly, and the colors in his robes shifted from calm blue to warning yellow. Refuse, he repeated, his translation device, struggling with the concept. I do not understand this word in this context. No species refuses council membership. Then you are about to learn something new, Hyejin replied calmly. Humanity respectfully declines your integration accords. However, we have a counter-proposal. The alien guards behind Veltar shifted nervously. They had clearly never been in a situation like this before. One of them whispered something in a clicking language that the human translators could not understand. Counter-proposal? Veltar said, his voice rising in pitch. You are a primitive species from a single planet. You have no technology worth sharing. You have no military worth mentioning. What could you possibly offer the mighty Galactic Council? Dr. Subin stepped forward, carrying a small device that looked like a crystal tablet. Perhaps more than you think. May we demonstrate? Before Veltar could respond, Subin activated the device. Suddenly, the air in the room shimmered and changed. Holographic displays appeared showing detailed scans of the Council station, complete with internal structure, population counts, and energy readings. This is impossible, one of the alien guards gasped. No scanner can penetrate our shields. Human. Scanners can, Subin said simply. We have been studying your technology since we arrived. Your shields work very well against energy-based scanning, but they cannot stop quantum-dimensional analysis. Veltar grabbed the device from her hands, studying it with all four arms. This technology does not exist. Our scientists proved it was impossible 3,000 years ago. Your scientists were wrong, Jawook said, joining the conversation. Human scientists proved it was possible 50 years ago. We have been using it for deep space exploration. The room fell silent except for the humming of the station's systems. Veltar looked from one human to another, seeing them with new eyes. These were not the primitive creatures he had expected. Even if this is real, he said finally, one piece of technology does not make you equal to the Council. We control this entire sector of space. We have fleets that number in the thousands. We have weapons that can destroy planets. Ambassador Hyejin nodded respectfully. We understand the Council's power. That is why we want to discuss partnership, not submission. Partnership? Veltar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You understand nothing. The Council does not have partners. The Council has members and enemies. There is no third option. Engineer Wansik, who had been quietly recording everything on a device hidden in his clothing, finally spoke up. What about the Kethmori? The room went completely silent. The alien guards looked at each other with fear in their eyes. Veltar's robes turned a deep red color that probably meant anger or danger. How do you know that name? Veltar demanded. We know many things, Wansik replied. We know the Kethmori were a council member species who tried to leave 60 years ago. We know what happened to their home planet. We know what happened to their colonies. The Kethmori were rebels and terrorists, Veltar said quickly. They threatened the peace and stability of the galaxy. The Council had no choice but to stop them. By destroying their entire civilization, Dr. Subin asked. By turning their planets into dead rocks? Is that what you call peace? Veltar took a step back, his confidence shaken. How could you possibly know about classified council operations? The same way we know about the mining colonies where you send troublesome species, Jay-Wook said. The same way we know about the forced labor camps. The same way we know about the species that have tried to rebel over the centuries. Mi-young opened her legal case and pulled out a thick folder. We have documented evidence of 47 different species that have been enslaved, relocated, or destroyed by the Council over the past 1,000 years. Would you like to see the files? This is impossible, Veltar said, but his voice was weaker now. No species has access to Council historical records. We do not need access to your records, Hye-jin said. We found the survivors. The statement hit the room like a physical blow. Several of the alien guards stepped backward toward the door. Veltar's robes flickered through colors so quickly it was hard to follow. Survivors? Hidden colonies, refugee groups, escaped prisoners. In 10,000 years of ruling the galaxy, the Council has made many enemies. Some of them are still alive, still hiding, still remembering what you did to their people. Wonsik activated another device, and new holographic displays filled the room. These showed star maps with dozens of locations marked in red. These are the hidden bases we have found, settlements built by species who escaped Council destruction. They have been watching you, learning about you, waiting for someone strong enough to stand against you. And you think you are strong enough? Veltar asked, but there was doubt in his voice now. We think it is time to find out, Hye-jin replied. Here is humanity's counter-proposal. The Council dissolves its current power structure. All member species become truly equal partners in a new galactic alliance. All forced labor ends immediately. All enslaved species are freed. All tribute and taxation systems are replaced with voluntary trade agreements. The silence that followed was so complete they could hear the station's life support systems cycling air through the vents. Finally, Veltar began to laugh. It started as a quiet chuckling, but grew louder and more hysterical. The other aliens joined in, filling the room with sounds like breaking metal and screaming wind. You are insane, Veltar gasped between laughs. Completely insane! You are one species from one planet, and you think you can tell the Galactic Council how to run the galaxy? Not just us, Dr. Subin said quietly. The laughter stopped abruptly. What? Do you mean? Veltar demanded. Subin activated her scanner again, but this time it showed the space around the Council station. At first, the display looked empty except for the usual traffic of Council ships. Then she adjusted the settings. Suddenly, the display filled with ships, hundreds of ships, surrounding the station in a perfect sphere. Some were human vessels, but others had designs the Council had never seen before. Ships built by the survivors, the refugees, the escaped slaves who had been hiding in the dark spaces between stars. This is impossible, one of the guards whispered. Our sensors show nothing. Your sensors are looking for the wrong things, Wonsik explained. These ships use technologies your scientists abandoned or never discovered. Quantum cloaking, dimensional, phasing, dark matter manipulation. Veltar stared at the display, his confidence completely gone. How many ships? Enough, Hye-jin said simply. The question is not whether we can fight the Council. The question is whether we need to. You are threatening us, Veltar said, but his voice shook. We are offering you a choice, Hye-jin corrected. The same choice you offered us, but with better terms. You can join our new alliance as equal partners, or you can continue as you are and face the consequences. The Council will never accept such terms, Veltar said, but he was looking at the holographic display showing hundreds of hidden ships. We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We will not give up our power to a group of primitives and rebels. Then you have chosen, Mi-young said, closing her legal case. We are prepared to leave immediately. Leave? Veltar seemed confused again. You cannot leave. No species leaves council space without permission. Watch us, Captain Dongho said, speaking for the first time since the meeting began. As if responding to his words, the station's communication system activated. A new voice filled the room, speaking in perfect galactic standard, but with an accent none of the aliens recognized. Council Station 7, this is Admiral Boram of the Earth Defense Fleet. We are requesting immediate departure clearance for our diplomatic vessel. Please respond within 10 minutes. Veltar looked around the room wildly. Earth Defense Fleet? You said you came in one small ship. We said our delegation came in one ship. Haya Jin corrected. We never said that ship was alone. The communication system activated again. Council Station 7, you now have 9 minutes to respond to our departure request. How many ships do you have out there? Veltar demanded. Enough, Dongho repeated Hyejin's earlier answer. Veltar activated his own communicator, speaking rapidly in the clicking language his species used. After a few moments, he looked back at the humans with something that might have been fear. Our sensors still show only your small diplomatic ship, he said. Nothing else. Then your sensors need improvement, Subin replied. The communication system spoke again. Council Station 7, you now have 7 minutes to respond. Please be advised that failure to grant departure clearance will be considered a hostile act. This is madness, Veltar said. The Council has the most powerful military in the galaxy. Even if you have a few hidden ships, we have thousands. We have weapons that can crack planets. We have defenses that have never been breached. Had, Wonsik corrected quietly. You had defenses that had never been breached. He pointed to his recording device, which was still running. Everything you have shown us, everything you have told us, every security measure we have observed, it has all been transmitted to our fleet. The Council's Grand Assembly Chamber had never seen anything like this in its 10,000-year history. Representatives from all 12 member species sat in their designated sections, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, and electronic tones. At the center of the vast room, Ambassador He-Jin stood alone at the speaker's platform. Above her, Overlord Veltar occupied the highest seat, his robes now a steady deep purple that his species used, to show extreme displeasure. Around him, the other council leaders watched with expressions that ranged from confusion to anger. The human delegation has requested this final audience, Veltar announced, his voice echoing through the chamber's sophisticated sound system. Though I cannot imagine what they hope to accomplish. The terms of membership are not negotiable. Captain Minho stood beside Ambassador He-Jin, his military uniform crisp and formal. He had requested permission to attend this final meeting, saying that humanity's answer deserved to be delivered with proper ceremony. Honored council members, He-Jin began, her voice calm and clear. Humanity has carefully considered your generous offer of membership. We have read every line of the integration accords. We have studied the terms, the conditions, and the obligations. Then, you understand the honor we offer, interrupted Zeftos, the Council's military commander. His species looked like giant insects with armor plates instead of skin. Your primitive civilization will be elevated beyond your wildest dreams. We understand exactly what you offer, He-Jin replied. Complete surrender of our independence. In exchange for protection we do not need from dangers you create using technology we can surpass. A wave of shocked sounds filled the chamber. The translation system struggled to keep up with the dozen different languages being spoken at once. Impossible claims, declared Quendar, representative of the hegemony species. Her crystalline form rang like bells when she spoke. No single planet species possesses advanced technology. Dr. Subin stepped forward and activated a small device. Immediately, detailed holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber, showing technical specifications that made several council members lean forward in surprise. Quantum communication across galactic distances, Subin announced as the first display showed Earth's communication network. Real-time data transmission using dimensional folding. The next display showed human ships in deep space, moving at speeds that should have been impossible. Faster than light travel using space-time manipulation rather than brute force energy expenditure. Your own scientists declared such methods impossible, Zeftos said, but his voice carried less certainty than before. Our scientists proved your scientists wrong, Subin replied simply. The displays continued, showing human achievements in energy production, material science, and artificial intelligence. With each new revelation, the council members became quieter and more thoughtful. Even if these claims are true, Veltar said finally, you remain one species against an alliance of 12. You have one planet against our thousands. You have one military against our combined fleets. Do we? Captain Minho asked quietly. He activated his own communicator, and suddenly Admiral Boram's voice filled the chamber, speaking in clear galactic. Standard. Council Station 7, this is the Earth Defense Fleet. We are prepared to receive our diplomatic delegation. Please grant immediate departure clearance. Your single ship? Veltar asked mockingly. We are supposed to be impressed. By one vessel? Who said anything about one vessel? Minho replied. As if responding to his words, the chamber's main display screen activated, showing the space around the council station. At first, it appeared normal. A few council ships, some merchant vessels, the usual traffic around such. An important location. Then the display changed. The space around the station erupted with light as hundreds of ships suddenly became visible. They appeared as if materializing from nothing, surrounding the station in perfect formation. The ships came in many different designs, some clearly human, others belonging to species the Council had never seen before. The chamber fell completely silent. Even the automatic translation systems seemed to pause in shock. This is impossible, Zeftos whispered, his insect-like head turning to stare at the display. Our sensors detected nothing. Your sensors detected what we wanted them to detect, Minho explained. Human cloaking technology has advanced considerably since you last updated your scanning protocols. How many ships? Demanded Veltar, his voice barely controlled. Communications Officer Sung Min, who had been quietly monitoring transmissions, looked up from his device. The human fleet consists of 237 vessels of various classes. But, Admiral, there are also ships from other species. I count at least 50 different designs. Other species? Quendar's crystalline form rang with alarm. What other species? The survivors, Hyejin said simply. The ones who escaped when you destroyed their civilizations. The ones who have been hiding in the dark spaces between stars, waiting for someone strong enough to stand with them. Engineer Wonsik activated another display showing a list of species names. As each name appeared, several council members made sounds of recognition and fear. The Kethmori were not all destroyed, Wonsik announced. 12 of their colony ships escaped your attack. They have been building a new fleet for 60 years. The Vel-Nathi mining rebellion was not completely crushed. 3,000 of their people reached the Outer Rim and established hidden settlements. The Torvani scientist philosophers, who refused forced research assignments. You thought you executed them all, but 50 escaped to continue their work in exile. With each name, the display showed ships in the fleet that matched the architectural styles of these supposedly extinct civilizations. This is impossible, Veltar repeated, but his voice carried no conviction now. These species were eliminated. Our records show complete pacification. Your records show what you wanted to believe, Dr. Subin said. But genocide is never as complete as the genociders think. Life finds a way to survive, to adapt, to remember. The Aikshiu, council members were talking among themselves now, their voices rising in panic. Some were demanding immediate military action. Others were calculating how many of their own forces were within range. A few were quietly asking their aides about evacuation procedures. "Silence," Veltar commanded, his voice amplified through the chamber's systems. "Even if these claims are true, the Council is not without resources. We have defended this station for 3,000 years. Our weapons are more than capable of dealing with a collection of primitive ships and refugee rabble." Admiral Boram's voice spoke again through the communication system. "Council Station 7, we are still waiting for departure clearance. Please respond immediately." "You threaten us in our own station?" Zeftos demanded, rising from his seat. "This is an act of war." "This is a request for departure clearance," Captain Minho corrected. "Nothing more. We came here in peace. We conducted our business in peace, and we wish to leave in peace." "After refusing the greatest honor the galaxy can bestow," Veltar said angrily, "after insulting the Council with impossible demands, after bringing an invasion fleet to our doorstep." "We brought a defense fleet," Hyejin corrected, "in case our peaceful departure was not permitted." "The Council permits no one to leave without proper authorization," Zeftos declared. "You will return to your quarters and remain there until this matter is resolved." "No," Hyejin said simply. The word hung in the air like a physical thing. In 10,000 years of Council history, no species had ever said no to a direct command in the assembly chamber. "No," Veltar repeated, as if he could not understand the concept. "No," Captain Minho confirmed. "Humanity does not recognize the Council's authority over our delegation. We are leaving now, with or without your permission." "Then you are declaring war on the Galactic Council," Zeftos said, his armored plates shifting into what was probably a threat display. "We are declaring independence from the Galactic Council," Hyejin replied. "There is a difference. A difference that will not matter when our fleets reduce your pathetic little planet to cosmic dust," Veltar snarled. The chamber's main display suddenly changed again. Now it showed not just the ships around the station, but a much wider view of local space. More ships were visible now, scattered throughout the system in defensive positions. Some were near the major shipping lanes. Others hovered close to Council military bases. Still others surrounded important installations and supply depots. "Your fleets will have other concerns," Communications Officer Sung Min announced. "Reports are coming in from across Council space. Similar fleets have appeared at major stations throughout your territory." "Impossible," Quendar chimed, but her crystalline form was flickering with what might have been fear. "The Council controls all major shipping lanes. No fleet could move without our knowledge. No traditional fleet could move without your knowledge," Dr. Subin agreed. "But we are not using traditional methods." She activated her scanner one more time, and the display showed something that made every Council member freeze in terror. The ships were not just surrounding the station. They were inside the station's defensive perimeter. Some were so close they could have rammed the structure before the Council's weapons could target them. Captain Dong-ho stood on the bridge of the human flagship New Seoul, staring at the impossible message on his screen. The words glowed in perfect English, though they came from somewhere beyond the stars. After 300 years of searching, the galaxy for other life had finally found them. "Sir, the quantum transmission is still coming through," said Communications Officer Sung Min, his voice tight with excitement. "The signal is stronger than anything we have ever seen. They want to talk." Dong-ho read the message again. It was simple and direct. The Galactic Council welcomed humanity to join the greater community of intelligent species. They offered protection, technology, and friendship. All humans had to do was send representatives to meet them at a station near Proxima Centauri. "Get me Admiral Boram on Earth," Dong-ho ordered. "She needs to see this immediately." Within minutes, the Admiral's face appeared on the main screen. Boram was known throughout the human fleet for her sharp mind and careful thinking. She never made quick decisions about important matters. "I have read the message, Captain," Boram said. This is the moment our species has waited for. But we must be very careful. We know nothing about these aliens or what they really want. Dong Ho nodded. Who should we send? This could change everything for humanity. Ambassador Haye Jin, Boram replied without pause. She has more experience with difficult negotiations than anyone else. And take Dr. Su Bin with you. If anyone can understand alien biology and behavior, it is her. 2 days later, the human delegation prepared to leave for the council station. Ambassador Haye Jin checked her equipment one final time. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her eyes showed the intelligence that had made her Earth's best diplomat. She had spent her life solving problems between different human groups. Now, she would try to understand aliens. Dr. Su Bin joined her in the shuttle bay. The scientist was younger, with quick hands that moved when she talked. She had studied every form of life humans had found in space. Most had been simple bacteria or plants. None had been intelligent. None had built machines or talked across the stars. Are you nervous? Su Bin asked as they walked toward the shuttle. Haye Jin smiled. Always. Nervous people pay attention to details. Details keep us alive. The journey to Proxima Centauri took 6 hours using humanity's fastest ships. As they came closer to the coordinates, both women stared in wonder at what waited for them. The council station was enormous, bigger than Earth's largest cities. It spun slowly in space, covered in lights and strange shapes that hurt to look at for too long. Look at the size of that thing, Su Bin whispered. They could fit millions of people in there. 3 alien ships came out to meet them. The ships looked nothing like human vessels. They were smooth and curved, like living things made of metal and light. They moved without any visible engines, sliding through space as if it was water. A voice spoke through their radio, but it was not human. The words were translated by their computers, but strange clicks and musical sounds came through as well. Human vessel, you are welcome at the council station. Follow our ships to the docking area. Do not change course or speed. Do not use your weapons. Do not scan our station with your sensors. Captain Dong Ho, who was piloting the shuttle himself, followed the instructions exactly. As they got closer to the station, they could see other ships docked there. Each one looked different, showing that many different species lived and worked together in this place. The docking bay was huge and filled with breathable air. As soon as their shuttle landed, a group of aliens came to meet them. The humans had never seen anything like them before. The leader was tall and thin, with purple skin and 4 arms. Its head was larger than a human head, and its eyes were black and shiny. It wore robes that seemed to move by themselves, changing colors as it walked. I am Overlord Veltar, the alien said through a translation device on its chest. I speak for the Galactic Council. You are the humans from the 3rd planet of the Yellow Star. Ambassador Haye Jin stepped forward and bowed slightly. I am Ambassador Haye Jin, representing the United Earth government. We are honored to meet you. Veltar looked at her for a long moment. Its expression was hard to read, but something about its posture seemed dismissive. You are smaller than we expected. Your technology is primitive. Your ships are slow and ugly. But the Council has decided to offer you membership anyway. Dr. Su Bin felt her jaw tighten at the insults, but Haye Jin remained calm and polite. We appreciate your offer, Haye Jin said. We would like to learn more about what membership means. Of course you would, Veltar replied. All new species want to understand their good fortune. Come. We will show you the wonders of Council. Technology. Then we will give you the integration accords to sign. As they walked through the station, the humans saw amazing things. Plants that grew in mid-air without soil. Machines that seemed to think for themselves. Gravity that worked, in different directions in different rooms. The technology was far beyond anything humans had built. But Su Bin noticed something else. The few aliens they passed in the hallways looked tired and scared. Some wore collars around their necks that glowed with the same light as the station's walls. When these aliens saw Veltar, they quickly moved out of the way and looked at the ground. The tour ended in a large room with windows that showed the stars outside. Veltar gestured to comfortable chairs and offered them food and drink. The food was strange but good, and the drink tasted like fruit that did not exist on Earth. "Now," Veltar said, "let me tell you about the great honor we are offering your species." He explained that the Galactic Council had ruled this part of space for 10,000 years. 12 different species had joined together to bring peace and order to the galaxy. They shared technology and resources. They protected each other from dangers. "What kind of dangers?" Yijin asked. "Pirates? Hostile aliens? Natural disasters? Space itself is full of things that can kill you," Veltar replied. "But under Council protection, your species will be safe forever." Dr. Subin leaned forward. "And what do you want from us in return?" Veltar's expression changed slightly, though the humans could not tell if he was pleased or annoyed. "Smart questions. We want nothing much, just your cooperation, your resources when needed, your ships when there is trouble, your people when we need workers." "Our people?" Yejin asked quietly. "For important jobs, of course. The Council always has need for workers in the deep mines or the energy plants. It is an honor to serve the greater good." The room became very quiet. Outside the windows, the stars shone cold and distant. Captain Dong Ho looked at Ambassador Hyejin, and she gave him a tiny nod. "This is a very generous offer," Hyejin said carefully. "Such an important decision requires time to consider all the details. May we have a copy of these integration accords to study?" Veltar seemed surprised. "Study? Most species sign immediately. They understand their good fortune." "Humans like to read carefully before making agreements," Hyejin replied with a diplomatic smile. "Very well," Veltar said after a pause. "You have 3 days, but do not take too long. The Council's patience has limits." The space around Council Station 7 had become the most watched location in the galaxy. Council military forces rushed toward the station from every direction, their commanders screaming orders across communication channels that had been secure, just hours before. What they found when they arrived was not what anyone expected. Commodore Hyun Woo stood on the bridge of the human flagship New Busan, watching the Council ships arrive with calm interest. His fleet of over 200 vessels maintained perfect formation around the station, making no aggressive moves but clearly ready for anything. "Admiral, the Council ships are demanding we withdraw immediately," reported Communications Officer Dayun. "They are threatening to open fire if we do not comply." "Tell them we are conducting peaceful escort operations," Hyun-woo replied. "We have no intention of attacking anyone, but we will defend ourselves if attacked." Through the viewports, the crew could see Council ships taking positions around the human fleet. The alien vessels were impressive, massive, heavily armed, and clearly designed for intimidation. But something was wrong with their formations. "Sir," called out Navigation Officer Gitak from his station, "the Council ships are having trouble maintaining position. Their navigation systems appear to be malfunctioning." Hyun-woo smiled slightly. "Are they now? How unfortunate." What the Council commanders did not know was that human ships had been broadcasting a low-level quantum field that interfered with their targeting systems. It was not enough to cause serious damage, but it made precise movements difficult and accurate weapons fire nearly impossible. "Council Fleet Commander is demanding to speak with you directly," Dawn reported. "Put him through," Hyun-woo ordered. The main screen activated, showing the bridge of a Council dreadnought. The alien commander was clearly of the same species as Overlord Veltar, with purple skin and multiple arms. His robes were military colors, red and gold, and his expression showed barely controlled fury. Human Commander, I am Fleet Admiral Kethvar of the Council Defense Forces. You are in violation of 17 different galactic treaties. Withdraw your ships immediately or face the consequences. Admiral Kethvar, Hyunwoo replied politely. I am Commodore Hyunwoo of the Earth Defense Fleet. We are not in violation of any treaties because humanity is not a signatory to any galactic treaties. We are simply escorting our diplomatic mission home. Your diplomatic mission rejected. Council membership, Kethvar snarled. That makes you hostile aliens operating illegally in council space. Actually, interrupted Captain Jin-A from the research vessel New Soul, our legal analysis indicates that this system is not technically council space. According to galactic law, space around first contact locations remains neutral territory until formal agreements are signed. Her image appeared on a secondary screen, showing a young woman with short black hair and the confident expression of someone who had spent years studying alien legal systems. Since no agreements were signed, Jin-A continued, this remains neutral space. Our presence here is perfectly legal. Kethvar's robes shifted to darker colors. Legal technicalities will not save you when my fleet opens fire. Your fleet is welcome to try, Hyunwoo said calmly. But I should warn you that your targeting systems seem to be experiencing some difficulties. As if to prove his point, one of the council ships fired a warning shot that missed its intended target by several thousand kilometers, nearly hitting another council vessel instead. What have you done? Kethvar demanded. Nothing harmful, Hyunwoo assured him. Just a demonstration of human technology. Did you know that quantum fields can be tuned to specific frequencies? Very useful for disrupting primitive targeting systems. While this conversation continued, something far more impressive was happening throughout council space. Reports were flooding in from dozens of systems where human ships had appeared without warning, demonstrating capabilities that should have been impossible. On the bridge of the New Soul, Captain Jin-A was coordinating what humans had privately named Operation Eye-Opener. Her ship was equipped with the most advanced scanning and analysis equipment in the human fleet, and she was using it to show the Council exactly what they were dealing with. Begin Phase 1, she ordered. Throughout the system, human ships began to demonstrate their abilities. The first demonstration was simple but shocking. Every human vessel suddenly vanished from all sensors simultaneously, only to reappear in completely different positions seconds later. Dimensional phasing, Dr. Subin explained over the communication channel, speaking from the diplomatic shuttle that was now safely surrounded by the human fleet. We learned to slip our ships partially out of normal space-time. Very useful for avoiding obstacles. The Council ships tried to track the human vessels, but their sensors could not lock onto targets that existed in multiple dimensions at once. Some human ships appeared to be in two places at the same time, others seemed to be moving backward through time. This is impossible, Admiral Kethvar transmitted, his voice strained. Matter cannot exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Council science textbooks might need updating, suggested quantum physicist Da Yun from her position on the New Busan. We discovered that your understanding of dimensional mechanics was incomplete about 60 years ago. The second demonstration was even more impressive. The human ships began to move in ways that violated every known law of physics. They accelerated without producing energy signatures. They changed direction without using thrusters. They moved through space as if friction and inertia did not exist. Gravity manipulation, explained Engineer Wansik. Instead of fighting against space-time, we learned to reshape it, much more efficient than brute force propulsion. Several council commanders tried to match the human maneuvers, but their ships were not designed for such movement. Two council vessels collided when their pilots attempted to copy a human ship's sudden 90-degree turn. Another lost control completely and had to be rescued by its escorts. But the most shocking demonstration was yet to come. Begin Phase 2, Captain Jin-A ordered. Dimensional engineer Gi-Tak activated his most carefully guarded device. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then Council Station 7, along with every ship within 1,000 kilometers, simply disappeared. The space where the massive station had been was completely empty. Stars that had been hidden behind the structure were now visible. Ships that had been docked were gone. The station's defensive platforms had vanished along with everything else. "Where is the station?" Admiral Kethvar's voice came through the communication system, but now he sounded terrified rather than angry. "What have you done with Council Station 7? "The station is perfectly safe," Gitak assured him. "We have simply moved it to a parallel dimensional space. Everyone aboard is unharmed and completely unaware that anything has happened." "You cannot move an entire space station to another dimension," protested the Admiral. "The energy requirements alone would be impossible." "Would be impossible using Council technology," Daun corrected. "Human technology operates on different principles." The station remained invisible for exactly 60 seconds, long enough for every Council ship in the system to understand that their most important installation had been completely at the mercy of the human fleet. Then, as suddenly as it had vanished, Council Station 7 reappeared in exactly the same position. The communication channels erupted with panicked transmissions from the station. Overlord Veltar's voice rose above the others, demanding to know what had happened. "We experienced a brief dimensional displacement," Captain Jinai explained calmly. "A demonstration of human defensive capabilities. No harm was done to anyone or anything aboard the station." "Defensive capabilities?" Admiral Kethvar repeated weakly. "Of course," Commodore Hyunwoo replied. "Did you think these were offensive weapons? Humans prefer defensive strategies, much more civilized than destroying things." The implications of what had just happened were clear to every Council military officer in the system. If humans could make an entire space station disappear and reappear at will, they could do the same thing to planets, fleets, or entire star systems. "This changes everything," Admiral Kethvar transmitted privately to Overlord Veltar on the station. "Indeed it does," came the reply. "We are not dealing with a primitive species seeking protection. We are dealing with a civilization that could have destroyed us at any time during the negotiations." The final demonstration came as the human fleet prepared to leave the system. Captain Wansik activated the New Soul's communication array and transmitted a message that reached every ship, station, and planet in Council space simultaneously. "Citizens of the galaxy," the message began in dozens of different languages. "Humanity offers friendship to all peaceful species. We invite you to join us in building a new kind of galactic civilization, one based on cooperation rather than domination, on equality rather than hierarchy, on freedom rather than control." The message continued with detailed information about human technology, human values, and human intentions. But most importantly, it included contact information for species who wanted to learn more about alternatives to Council rule. Within hours of the transmission, the Council's communication networks were flooded with inquiries from members. 6 months after humanity walked away from the Council's deal, President Yoon Seo stood before the United Earth Assembly in the Great Hall that overlooked the Pacific Ocean. The room was packed with representatives from every human nation, but today, they were not alone. Scattered throughout the audience were beings that would have been impossible to imagine just a year ago. "Fellow humans and honored guests," President Yoon Seo began, her voice carrying clearly through the hall's advanced sound system. "Today marks the end of humanity's isolation and the beginning of something unprecedented in galactic history." In the front row sat Ambassador Su Jin, who had become Earth's first Minister of Galactic Affairs. Beside her were representatives from 17 different species, survivors, refugees, and revolutionaries who had declared independence from the Council following humanity's example. "The reports from across the galaxy continue to arrive daily," President Yoon Seo continued. "The Kethmori have reclaimed their ancestral homeworld. The Vel Nathi mining colonies have declared themselves free republics. The Toravani have established their first university in 70 years. Each day brings news of another species choosing freedom over security. Captain Wu Jin, now promoted to Admiral of the Free Alliance Defense Force, stood as the president, called his name. Admiral Wu Jin has just returned from the Rigel sector, where our joint military exercises with newly liberated civilizations have been completed. Would you like to share your report? Admiral Wu Jin moved to the podium, his uniform now bearing both human insignia and symbols from a dozen other species. Behind him, a holographic display showed star maps with hundreds of systems marked in blue, the color chosen to represent free space. 6 months ago, these systems were under Council control, he said, gesturing to the display. Today, they govern themselves according to their own laws and customs. The Free Alliance has grown to include 43 different species across 237 star systems. The display changed to show military formations, ships from many different civilizations working together in perfect coordination. Our combined fleets now number over 1,500 vessels, Admiral Wu Jin continued. But more importantly, our defensive technologies have been shared freely among all Alliance members. Every world that joins us becomes capable of defending itself against Council retaliation. In the audience, Overlord Veltar would have been horrified to see how quickly his empire was dissolving. But Veltar was no longer Overlord. He had been removed from power by the remaining Council members after what they called the human disaster. The new Council leadership, headed by a more moderate leader named Yex Thul, had tried several different approaches to dealing with the growing rebellion. First, they had attempted military action, sending fleets to reclaim rebellious systems. But ships that tried to attack Alliance worlds found themselves facing the same dimensional technologies that had made Council Station 7 disappear. The Council's first major offensive was against the Kethmori homeworld, reported Defense Minister Kyung-ho from his position at the podium. 73 Council ships arrived to find the planet apparently empty. When they landed to investigate, the planet reappeared around them, trapping their entire fleet in a dimensional pocket. Laughter filled the assembly hall. The image of Council Marines searching an empty world while their ships floated helplessly in parallel space had become famous throughout the galaxy. The Council fleet was returned unharmed after 48 hours, Kyung-ho continued, along with a polite note suggesting they might want to call ahead next time. The Council's second approach had been economic warfare. They attempted to cut off trade with rebellious systems, expecting them to collapse without access to Council-controlled resources and technology. This strategy failed even more spectacularly than the first. Human trade missions have now established commercial relationships with over 300 different species, reported Commerce Secretary Mi Young. Many of these are Council member species who were not previously allowed to trade freely due to Council restrictions. The truth was that the Council's trade monopoly had been based on preventing their member species from dealing directly with each other. Once humans provided alternatives, many Council worlds discovered they could get better prices and better products by trading freely rather than going through Council middlemen. The economic impact has been remarkable, Mi Young continued. Former Council tributary species are reporting economic growth rates of 30 to 50% after joining the Free Alliance. Several Council core worlds have formally requested permission to begin independent trade negotiations. But the most significant development had nothing to do with military power or economic influence. It was a simple message that had been broadcast throughout the galaxy 3 months after humanity's departure from Council Station 7. Dr. Ha Young, now serving as Earth's Director of Galactic Relations, stood to address the assembly. The most important moment in this entire process came not from any demonstration of strength, but from a single transmission we received from a species called the Zendai, she said. They had been Council members for over 4,000 years. They had never known any other form of government. The display showed the text of the message that had changed everything. To the humans and their allies, we do not want to fight the Council. We do not want to rebel or cause trouble. We simply want to ask a question that has never been asked before in our civilization's history. What if there is a better way? That message was received simultaneously by every member of the Free Alliance. Dr. Ha-Young continued. Within days, we had responses from thousands of species all asking the same question. What if there is a better way? The Zendai had not declared independence. They had not attempted revolution. They had simply started asking questions. Questions about why their young people had to serve in council military forces. Questions about why their resources were sent to council core worlds instead of being used for their own development. Questions about why they had never been allowed to vote on the laws that governed their lives. The council's response to these questions was instructive, Dr. Ha-Young said with a slight smile. They declared that asking such questions was a form of sedition punishable by exile to the mining colonies. This response had backfired catastrophically. Within weeks, every council member species was asking the same questions. The council found itself in the impossible position of trying to maintain order by punishing curiosity itself. The final collapse began exactly 93 days ago, reported Admiral Bo Ram, now serving as Strategic Defense Coordinator. The council attempted to arrest the entire Zendai planetary government for sedition. The population resisted using defensive technologies provided by the Alliance. The display showed the aftermath. Council ships fleeing from a planet they could no longer find, while Zendai cities celebrated their first free elections in 4,000 years. The Zendai victory convinced 17 more species to join the Alliance in a single week. Admiral Boram continued. The Council's authority has collapsed in over half their former territory. President Yun Seo returned to the podium as the reports concluded. But we did not gather here today merely to celebrate the Council's defeat, she said. We gathered to discuss what comes next. How do we build something better than what came before? The question was not rhetorical. The Free Alliance faced real challenges that had no easy solutions. How do you govern a civilization that spans thousands of light years and includes dozens of species with completely different biologies, cultures, and values? The answer, said Ambassador Su Jin as she took the podium, is that we do not govern it. We coordinate it. She activated a new display showing the Alliance's governmental structure. It looked nothing like the Council's hierarchical system. Each member species maintains complete sovereignty over their own affairs, Su Jin explained. The Alliance exists only to facilitate cooperation and provide mutual defense. No species rules over any other. No central authority makes decisions for everyone. But what about conflicts between member species? Asked Representative Park from the Korean Federation. What happens when Alliance members disagree? The same thing that happens when human nations disagree, replied Dr. Su Bin, from her position as Director of Interspecies Relations. We talk, we negotiate, we compromise, and if necessary, we agree to disagree while remaining friends. It was a radical concept in galactic terms. For 10,000 years, the Council had maintained peace through strength and fear. The Alliance was attempting to maintain peace through respect and cooperation. It will not always work, President Yun Seo admitted. There will be conflicts we cannot resolve peacefully. There will be species who choose conquest over cooperation, but we believe that most intelligent beings prefer freedom to safety, growth to stagnation, hope to fear. As if summoned by her words, the Assembly Hall's main door opened to admit a new group of visitors. These were not members of the Alliance, nor were they refugees from Council oppression. They were representatives from species that humanity had never encountered before, civilizations from the far reaches of the galaxy who had heard about the Alliance and wanted to learn more.